The Birds are flying high going into Wentz week. What do they need to do to stick it to their former quarterback? Also, the Phillies' magic number is down to single digits after a midweek turnaround. And finally, the Flyers dropped the puck on their preseason tonight. I'll touch on some news and notes surrounding the orange and black. This episode of the Philly Sports Spot YouTube channel starts right now. What's going on, everybody, and welcome into this edition of the Philly Sports Spot YouTube channel. I am your host, Jordan Hirsch, and guys, before we get into this video, please make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel with notifications turned on so you never miss another upload. You could also follow me on Instagram. The link will be in the description below. Alright, and so let's kick off this episode by talking about the Birds once again as the Eagles improved to 2-0 last week, defeating the Minnesota Vikings on Monday Night Football by a final score of 24-7. Jalen Hurts and the offense looked exceptionally great in the first half of that game, scoring all 24 points in the first half. Jalen Hurts with 2 rushing touchdowns and a long deep ball passing touchdown to Quez Watkins for the first passing touchdown of the season for the Eagles. And just as good as the offense was in the first half, that is how good the defense was in the second half, as they allowed 0 points in the second half with 3 takeaways. Darius Slay with a couple of interceptions and Avonte Maddox mixing in one as well. They looked really good last week. I mean, they looked like probably one of the best teams, not even in the NFC, but in the NFL last week. Sure, 24 points isn't really something that's really going to make your jaw drop, but it was a heavy 24 points, I think. I mean, they easily could have scored more. They had a blocked field goal, and I think they kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit at the end of the game there. But still, a 24-7 showing on national TV is always good to see. Jalen Hurts looked fantastic. I think that was the best game of his career, as he goes 26 for 31 for 333 yards. Threw that one touchdown pass to Quez Watkins, then also had an interception. That wasn't really his fault. The running game was really good. Miles Sanders with 80 yards on just 17 carries. Jalen Hurts also mixed in a lot of rushes again, but he was running when he needed to. He had 11 rushing attempts, and he had 14 the week prior in Detroit. However, I think he was being a lot more selective this week. He was staying in the pocket a lot longer, and that's what you like to see. He did mix in 57 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, including that second one, which was just fantastic. An unbelievable 26-yard run for him, his longest rushing touchdown of his career. Boston Scott got a few carries. He had 4 for 19 yards, and then Kenny Gainwell had 2 for 7 yards. All in all, a very well-rounded win for the Eagles on Monday Night Football, and now they look ahead to the Commanders, who they're going to play tomorrow at 1 o'clock on Fox. It's going to be the first time Carson Wentz will face his former team, and I really hope that the Eagles go out there and stick it to him, and I think that they will. I think the Eagles match up very nicely with Washington. Their cornerback should be just fine. They're going to put, I'm sure, Darius Slay on Terry McLaurin. Dotson, he'll get the assignment of James Bradbury. So the Eagles, I think, should be able to lock up their receivers pretty well tomorrow. And I think that as long as they do that, they're going to win that game pretty easily. Washington did not have any run game in their 36-27 loss in Detroit last week. Their leading rusher was Antonio Gibson, who had just 28 yards on 14 carries. Carson Wentz had a good game. He went 30 for 46. However, 46 passing attempts. It shows their running game really did not do anything. They fell behind big in that game early, so I get it. They didn't really have a lot of chances to run the ball, but still, when they did, it did not look pretty. And the Eagles' rush defense also last week was fantastic against one of the better running backs in the league in Dalvin Cook. I think the Eagles should really have no problem this week. I hope that they go out there and have no problem. I always love beating the Commanders. I can't stand that team. I can't stand that stadium. I can't stand anything really about Washington, and especially now I cannot stand that quarterback. So I'm really hoping the Eagles go out there and stick it to Carson Wentz. I think they win big. My prediction is that the Eagles win 27-17. However, again, I think it's going to be a heavy 27. I think they're going to probably have chances to score. Maybe they'll get up big like they did on Monday night, and maybe just not be able to finish off some drives at the end. Going back to that game on Monday night, we talked about it. I talked about it last week, the fact that it was A.J. Brown's week in week 1. However, he was saying after the game that that just happened to be his week, and Devontae Smith could get just as many yards, if not more than him. And Devontae Smith ended up having the big game this past week on Monday night. He had 7 receptions for 80 yards. Dallas Goedert also had a big game with 82 yards on just 5 receptions. A.J. Brown 5 for 69. So everybody really mixed in there. But again, it was really nice to see that Devontae Smith, after getting 0 receptions in week 1, was able to get those 7 including, I think, 5 in the first half. So it was really nice to see him kind of break out there in week 2. I do want to switch gears now a little quicker than normal here into the Phillies because they are coming down the home stretch of their regular season now with just a week and a half left. And I do want to get right into their weekend review because it did not start out pretty. They continued their 5-game losing streak, losing their first 3 games this week, 4-3 in Atlanta, 5-2 in Atlanta Saturday, Sunday. They were then off Monday and then had that awful showing on Tuesday in the 18-11 loss to the Blue Jays, which cannot happen when you're in a playoff race giving up 18 runs, and when you score 11 you expect to win ball games, and the fact that they lost by 7 was really just sad, and it looked like that losing streak was going to continue up to 6 against Toronto on Wednesday, as it was a pitcher's duel really going into the 8th inning until Seranthony Dominguez, who I'll touch on him in a little bit, gave up a long 3-run home run to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to give the Blue Jays a 3-0 lead. And at that point, I was basically done with this team. I had it. I mean, it was just so upsetting to watch the team just play like that and play so poorly coming down this home stretch. But I will give them a ton of credit because I think that could potentially have been a turning point here late in their season as they came right back and scored 3 runs of their own in the bottom of the 8th. JT Realmuto with a solo home run in that game, Dalton Guthrie with an RBI single, and then Kyle Schwarber with an RBI single to tie it up. Phillies then got out of a base. The game then went into the 10th inning where the Phillies got out of a bases-loaded 1-out jam in the 10th, where a line drive off of the bat of Teoscar Hernandez was caught by Gene Segura, then tagged second base to double up Bradley Zimmer, the former Philly, and the Phillies came out in the bottom of the 10th as Matt Vierling walked it off. He went 5 for 5 with 5 singles on the night, and the Phillies got the win 4-3, and they have not looked back since. They then followed that up with a 1-0 nail-biter against the Braves again on Thursday. Matt Vierling with a sacrifice fly is the only run in that game. Phillies win at 1-0, and then they came out and the offense came to life last night. Phillies win that game 9-1. They had multiple 4-run innings. It was really nice to just have a stress-free September game. Aaron Nola was absolutely dominant. He has an ERA of just 2.12 here in September, so he is certainly trying to change that September narrative around him. He has pitched fantastic this month, and he's just been really fun to watch, and it'd be really great if we could get him going down the stretch run as well, as it looks like Zach Wheeler is going to pick up right where he left off. He was touching 98-99 on Wednesday in his first start since August 20th with the right forearm tendonitis. So yeah, I mean, right now they look really good, and I would not have said that if I made this video on Wednesday at this time, because they have really turned it around these last 3 games. They've won the last 3. And I mean, the offense has been great. The pitching has been great, except the bullpen has really even been better during this 3-game win streak, for the exception of Seranthony Dominguez. I still think that he's a little injured, just because in that game on Wednesday, he was kind of shaking out that right shoulder a little bit after every pitch. He had one fastball that was only 92 miles an hour, and if you remember, that was the injury that put him on the shelf for a couple weeks earlier in the season, was that right shoulder issue. So I really hope that I hope that he's not hurt. He says that it's just mechanical, and I hope that he's not lying in saying that, because of course players at this time of the season, they will kind of say whatever they want to say to play, especially when the team's in a postseason race like the Phillies are. Their magic number right now is down to 9. It is at single digits, ladies and gentlemen. It is at single digits right now. Phillies have a 2.5 game lead on the Milwaukee Brewers in the wild card. Phillies also jumped the Padres last night to go into the second wild card spot, so a little bit of padding beneath us right now as the Phillies are sit a half game ahead of San Diego in the wild card standings. One guy that has not been hot during this little 3-game win streak has been Bryce Harper. He looks completely lost up at the plate, and I'm honestly not super concerned about it, just because I do think the Phillies rushed him back from that rehab stint a few weeks ago when he was with Lehigh Valley. I think the Phillies rushed him back a little bit too quickly there. I just think he's still maybe getting a little settled in, re-seeing those major league pitching. And I tell you what, though, if he turns it around, right here at the right time, because he does look like he's at least maybe a week away, but if he can turn around before the playoffs start and then get hot going into the playoffs, this team can be dangerous, because JT Realmuto is hot right now, Alec Boehm just keeps on hitting, and Rhys Hoskins is hopefully turning it around. He had a long 2-run home run in last night's game after hitting a ball that would have been a home run on Thursday if it was not for the wind. So hopefully he can turn it around too, because when Rhys Hoskins is hot, he's one of the best players in the league in my opinion. And if we get him hot, Bohm hot, and JT hot, all at the same time, I mean, getting Harper out would really just be an added bonus. It's also noteworthy that Nick Castellanos could begin a rehab assignment as early as tomorrow. Now, he has said that he does not want a rehab assignment, and it is all his right that if he wants to come off the IL and right back to the Phillies, he is allowed to do that. The Phillies do think that he probably should go on a rehab assignment for maybe a couple of games. I think that it would benefit him just because you see kind of Bryce Harper trying to get readjusted to that major league pitching, and I would really just hate to see Nick Castellanos rush his way back up here after he was starting to see the ball a little bit better, I think, before he went on the IL earlier this month. So moving in now to the Phillies week ahead, every game this week will be on NBC Sports Philadelphia, and they're going to start this week off today at 4:05 against the Atlanta Braves. They're then going to finish that series against the Braves tomorrow, 1:05, not 1:35, a 1:05 Sunday home game for the Phillies. As that will be Fan Appreciation Day. Their last home game of the season is tomorrow. Phillies are then off Monday and then in Chicago for 3 at Wrigley Field this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tuesday and Wednesday's game both are at 7:40 and then an afternoon game at 2:20 on Thursday in Chicago. And the Phillies will head to, hopefully will become again Citizens Bank Park South next weekend as they take on the Washington Nationals. Friday's game is at 7:05. Phillies will then play a doubleheader on Saturday, a split doubleheader. 1:05 is the first game, 7:05 is the second game, and then 1:35 on Sunday in Washington. And one last thing to get to this week is that the Flyers will drop the puck on their preseason schedule tonight at 7 o'clock at home against the Boston Bruins. They have a good amount of preseason games this week, actually, as they're then going to play Tuesday in Buffalo at 7, Wednesday back home against the Capitals at 7. They'll be then in Boston next Saturday, 1 o'clock, and then in New York to play the Islanders on next Sunday at 7. The only 2 games on TV will be those home games between the Flyers and Bruins tonight, and then the Flyers and Capitals on Wednesday. Both those games will be on NBC Sports Philadelphia Plus. You could listen to every game on 97.5 The Fanatic as well. And the Flyers are going into this preseason injury-stricken already, as it was announced that their top defenseman, Ryan Ellis, who only played 4 games last season, is going to miss the entire season, most likely, this year with a core muscle injury. Just awful news. He was really good in those 4 games that he played with us, and he's obviously one of the better defenders in the league when he was with Nashville previously, and it's just really a shame that he cannot stay healthy with the Flyers, as he's going to miss a good part or maybe even the entire season this season. Again, Flyers also got some bad news regarding one of their top offensive players in Sean Couturier, as it was announced he is week to week with a herniated disc that could, and when they say week to week, I mean he could be out for an extended period of time. Just not good news right now surrounding the Flyers. Remember, Joel Farabee, one of their better players, will also miss probably the first 3 to 4 weeks at least of the season as he rehabs from surgery that he had back in June. That does not stop John Tortorella, though, as the Flyers training camp begin this week, and he did say that the Flyers do have a lot of things to work on, which is true. I think we're going to get a very different coaching style than we are used to seeing with John Tortorella. Of course, that he is a tough-nosed guy. He's not going to deal with any BS. And I think that the city of Philadelphia is probably going to like him, and hopefully he could find some way to get some wins out of this team, because I do not have super high expectations for the Flyers this season, and I mean I hope I'm wrong, but I hope that John Tortorella can get at least the best play out of this team, because if you're not going to win a lot of games, you should at least make every game exciting, make the team kind of fun to watch, is kind of the hope right now. Alright, and that is going to wrap things up for this edition of the Philly Sports Spot YouTube channel. Again, make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to my channel with notifications turned on so you never miss another upload. I post every Saturday. You'd also follow me on Instagram. Link again will be in the description below, or you can just look me up. It's at Philly Sports Spot. That's PhillysSportSpot, so just one S between sport and spot. And until next week, guys, let's go Eagles. Get a win against Carson Wentz and the Commanders tomorrow, and let's see if the Phillies can keep it rolling as they wind down their regular season schedule.